Hello, I am Shayna Weber. I have two favorite directors, and they coincidentally have the same last name. I love Joe Wright and Edgar Wright. So, Joe Wright is the director of Pride and Prejudice, which is one of my favorite movies. He also did Atonement and Anna Karenina. And then Edgar Wright is Hot Fuzz and, Last Night in Soho. Amazing. I just watched The Diplomat on Netflix, which is absolutely amazing. And that is also featuring the actress Kerry Russell, who is part of one of my very favorite TV shows, which is Felicity. Um, Favorite movies besides Pride and Prejudice are, I wrote this down because I always forget these. Labyrinth with David Bowie is like top childhood film, made me want to make movies. And also Lost Boys. So Pride and Prejudice, Lost Boys, and Labyrinth. What a combination. I grew up in Oregon and I went to school first for engineering. I was interested in drafting and architecture and that aspect of engineering. So I always knew that I wanted, for some reason, to move to Los Angeles and work in the industry because of movies like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and First Night. And set design became like a really interesting aspect of the industry to me. So I got an internship at Paramount through a friend to work on set design on a sitcom. And so I moved down to LA for the summer, and I think my first week or second week here, the show was canceled. So I had to pivot. And I started working for a casting director who cast music videos. And we would drive around in her car on Melrose Avenue and try to find random, weird looking, cool people and ask them if they wanted to be in a music video. So that was one of my first jumping in moments in this industry, is just like, go find that guy with the mohawk right there, the mohawk with 1,000 piercings, and go talk to him and find out if he's repped by anybody, and find out if he wants to be in a music video. And I'm like, oh God, like 20-year-old me is like. Then after that, I worked as a talent management assistant. Then my first job that led me into a career was I was an executive assistant on The Weakest Link, which the original one, which was a show that was on the NBC lot in Burbank. And it was a reality competition game show. When I first started in the industry, I thought I knew what I wanted to do about 1,000 times. And each time I was like, sure that was the path I wanted to take. I always knew that I was a storyteller, but I didn't always confidently know where the best place for myself was. Growing up, it was always writing as a nice hobby. And I never really took it seriously. And I never thought that I was actually a good enough writer, because the writers that I read are absolutely amazing. And I was like, there's no way I could ever do that. So about 5 years into my reality TV producing ride, which I did for 15 years, a camera operator and I were working on So You Think You Can Dance. And he asked me about what stories I want to tell, or favorite movies or whatever. And so we were talking, and he said, you need to join this screenwriting group that my wife is in. And I was like, I can't be a screenwriter. What are you talking about? And he said, yes, you can. You know story and you know what you want to write, so do it. And so I put on my big girl pants and joined this group that I thought was these high level writers of amazingness, and just dove in. And so that's how I started my screenwriting journey. When I first joined my screenwriting group, which I'm still in 12 years later, I was so terrified of sharing my words that like you walk in there when it's your night to read. It's a form like we do table reads each week. And so you bring in the pages wherever you are in your script, and we read them and we cast the room and read. And for the first probably 3 or 4 or 5 years, even, every time it was my turn to read, I would be sweaty and nervous and like terrified. And it's still sometimes like that, but it does get easier the more you hear your own stuff out loud and hear other people's stuff out loud. It kind of eases that tension. But yes, it was absolutely freaking terrifying. And I listened a lot And I didn't give notes for a very long time, which is, I think, something that first time screenwriters should do if you're in a writing group. Just listen a lot. Listen, 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 and do not give feedback until you're at a place where you really, really know that what you're saying makes sense. I think being a writer, especially, is, you have so many great writers to look up to. How could you possibly even be in that category? And especially for screenwriters, it's hard to say, I'm a screenwriter without having sold something, made something, done something. But you are, because if you're sitting down and you're writing, you're a writer. You have something to show. I mean, you don't have a blank page, so you're writing something, so you're a writer. Same with acting. You're going out, you're acting, so you're an actor. So I was working on this show. It was a reality show, and it was a competition show called Wanna Bet. And we were at CBS Radford, and they had this huge parking garage. And so this was a big stunt show where basically the idea was celebrities came on and they bet whether this person could pull off the stunt that they said they could, and they bet a certain amount of money. So like, want to bet that this guy can ski down a ski slope made of eggs and not break any. So we built this giant ski slope that I designed because of my engineering and drafting background off the side of the parking garage. We built the ski ramp, and we had to calculate how many eggs we needed for this section of the ski ramp so that this skier could slide down it. And I did my math and figured it out, and it was 2,000 eggs that we needed for this section. So I bring it into the supervising producer, whose name I will not name, and I said, here's the calculations, here's how many eggs we need, because I needed to sign off to get that many eggs. And he looked at my calculations and he said, no, this is wrong, you multiplied this incorrectly, you need 20,000 eggs. And I was like, okay, I guess I do need 20,000 eggs. So we ordered 20,000 eggs, and we had 3 refrigerated trucks full of eggs in the garage. And wouldn't you know it, guess how many eggs we needed? 2,000. So we had 18,000 extra eggs on hand that went to every single catering, every single craft service, every single person on that whole lot to get rid of them, because the supervising producer told me if I told anybody about the error that I would be fired. My other good stories are about working at NBC when Jay Leno was the host of The Tonight Show. We always got to go through the side door at lunch and listen to the musical act rehearse. That was amazing. He would drive in every day in his different car and wave to everybody and bring like in and out trucks and stuff like that. And then when 9/11 happened, we were working there, and he brought everyone from that studio on into his show, sat us down and gave us the most amazing inspirational pep talk, probably one of the most amazing things I've ever heard in my life, that just like made us all feel so much better and together. And so I'll never forget Jay Leno for that. I learned about the ISA because I believe I was a finalist or top 10 contest placer for, I believe it was Scriptapalooza, I think in 2015 maybe. And I won a 6-month free membership to ISA. So that's how I learned about them. And then I went to a Third Thursdays with my friend Clarissa one time. And so I was getting the emails, and ISA put out a job offer for like admin person. And I was like, oh man, that would be great for me right now, because I just had a kid. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I didn't want to do reality shows and work on set. And I was kind of trying to figure out something that was still creative in the industry, but I could work from home. So I wrote up a very fast cover letter, like, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be 1 in a million, because I've applied for 1,000 jobs before, whatever. And I think you, Molly, you reached out to me in like 2 hours from that, and we bonded over being moms. And that's how I came on board. I've jumped around to different roles during my time at the ISA, which is, I think, going on 4 years now, right? And right now I am switching over to be a creative executive, working with Felicity Wren in development. And I'm very excited for that. I just switched over. So if you are on the development slate watching this, please bear with me, because I'm just trying to catch up like this. What I love about working for the ISA is Molly Cash. That's what I love over here. No, but for real, I do. I love Molly, and I love the people, and I love the idea that we are really at the core here to help screenwriters. And I know from being a screenwriter myself how you're in the wild, wild west. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea what the next step is. How do I take a meeting? How do I pitch? How do I do this? And I've always felt like ISA was the standout company that just was really actually 100% there for the writers and trying to help writers get to that next level wherever they want to go, if it's film or TV or creating their own projects. That's truly what I love. It just, the authenticity of ISA is real. One of my favorite things that I get to do with ISA is I get to interview top 25 writers and development slate writers for our emerging screenwriters interview series. And my favorite part is just learning. This is my dog, if you can see on the side. My favorite part is just learning about origin stories and where that's Hellman. And where people started, how they got where they're at, and just hearing them talk about themselves, which, you know, we hate doing, but we have to learn how to do it and talk about our voice and talk about, you know, what we write and why we write it. And so when I get to hear somebody speak with such passion about their projects and then they're making moves in the industry, it makes me so happy. And I think I've probably teared up more times in those interviews than I like to admit. I think the best advice that I've ever received in this industry, I guess, or in life is, well, specifically for this industry, is ask questions. If you don't know something, ask. There is nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong asking for clarification. Who you ask might be, you know, what you want to work on, but always ask. Don't ever go do something where you don't know what you're doing. Because then that's how you're going to get yourself in trouble. So I think that's the best advice I've ever received. And then advice that I would like to give, I will say this is my inspirational moment. Never dim your own light and your own likes and things that you're passionate about for anyone else, because that as a writer is what's going to make you stand out. If you like something, go towards that, shine bright, because what you do is you give other people permission to do that as well.